welcome everybody, and I'm so excited to introduce you, if you don't know her, many of you may know her, to a very special person. Very special person to me, Sharon. I've told you that many times before. I feel very privileged to have you in my life as a friend and as a mentor and as somebody that I can always lean on because you have so much incredible experience. But for those that don't know Sharon, a lot of you probably would know something called Rich Dad, Poor Dad and Robert Kiyosaki. And Sharon actually co-wrote the Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and actually set up the whole Rich Dad organization with Robert right from its beginning time. She's written, I think, a total of 12 or 13 books, under the Rich Dad brand. She then left there and went and started to consult with a number of presidents of the United States around financial literacy and understanding. She also went and worked and wrote, Think and Grow Rich for the Napoleon, but it was Think and Grow Rich for Women for the Napoleon Hill Foundation, and then went on to publish some of Napoleon Hill's unpublished books with her help, which is an incredible privilege because obviously that's one of the most well-known brands in personal development by a long shot. And then has written numerous other books. I think there's over 25 books you've written now, which I'm still struggling with my first one. We should probably have a chat about that. But I mean, your influence, your work in helping people deal with both the mindset and the behavior around money is legendary. And I just think this is such an important topic for us to address. So firstly, welcome. Thank you for spending some time. And of course, Sharon will be on the summit, Real Success 2024, talking in this topic a lot more depth. But yeah, Sharon, really appreciate you spending some time with me here.
Well, thank you, Brian. I'm delighted to be with you. And everybody deals with money, so it's something that financial education is the gift of a lifetime. Once you figure it out, you can keep repeating the positive sides of making money instead of the spending side. So I'm delighted to always be partnered with Real Success, and I think it's an opportunity for all of us to really understand that there's a lot we don't know. And so by attending seminars like this one, webinars, you give the opportunity to find that one or two things that can make tomorrow much better than today.
Yeah, but I think the top, and by the way, Sharon's going to be speaking twice, just as a little kind of a header. She's also going to be ending the summit off because she's got such a beautiful way of articulating and helping people make the most out of what they've experienced over the 4 days. But Sharon, this is your baby, like your financial literacy and the understanding. And a friend of mine once said there's two skills in money. There's making money and there's growing money. And of course, you're actually very skilled in both. Both being a very successful entrepreneur, teaching a lot of people how to make money. But of course, your real passion is the understanding of how to create financial freedom and how to grow money and utilize it effectively through assets. This is something I think, you're so beautifully qualified to understand, because I always say it's the mindset. Like, people really struggle. The conditioning in the world today of how people are brought up to relate to money has really caused a lot of challenges, which is your lifetime ambition to help as many people as possible to shift. What have you found the biggest restraint is for people to actually create a sense of financial security in their lives?
Well, you said it, mindset. Most of us grew up in households where we didn't talk about money. We didn't learn about money in school. And so we ended up with this mindset of money doesn't grow on trees, pinch your pennies, save for a rainy day. And those are all negative comments. And so you grow up, every time you hear money, it's money negative, money negative, money negative. And so your subconscious creates this lack of scarcity mindset. And whether you think you have that in you or not, more than likely it's there. And so you have to really reveal it and start educating yourself to release that fear and turn that into self-confidence and faith about money, and understand that with every dollar you receive, you have a choice. You can say goodbye to it, buy that expensive purse or go out to that expensive dinner, or you can keep it, invest it, let it grow for you, buy, build, or create assets, my favorite word on earth. And those assets can then generate cash flow that you can use to buy that purse or that expensive dinner.
Yeah, I think this is it's so interesting in a way, because as long as I've known you and as long as I've known, people in this space, it's not the most complicated thing in the world to actually create financial freedom. It just takes time. And so, because everyone's instant gratification and everyone thinks that earning more money will resolve their financial challenges, when the truth is, you became financially free a long time ago. And, I always say in our space, we know lots of people that are financially free, but they're still far and few between. And there's only one real fundamental method, which is investing in assets that then pay you instead of, you having to work for them. And it hasn't changed really, Sharon. I mean, you've been teaching and working in the space for quite a while. It really hasn't changed much. The world has changed, but the reality is you're still going to invest into stocks or into property or into businesses or whatever assets make sense. So it is mostly just psychology and conditioning that prevent people from taking action, right?
And habits. If we get into a habit of spending, money comes in and money goes out, and that habit gets ingrained. And so you have to really focus on what you're allowing in your brain, what choices you're making, who you're hanging out with. If you're hanging around with people that are as poor or worse than you are, it's not the right environment. You need to challenge yourself to be where the people are that can help you find the next path, the next best decision. And that's what we're doing at this in January for the webinar. It's just learn from people who have been there, done that. There's a lot of people out there selling stuff, hyping stuff, and yet they don't. They're selling something to get rich, and they're not rich themselves. So make sure you do your due diligence of who you're listening to, and surround yourself with people who can open doors for you or illuminate the path for you to make a better decision for your future.
Yeah, and I think and I love that about you, Sharon. I feel like you and I are close enough that if I work with somebody that you feel is not appropriate at real success, you're quite open about it. And I know a lot of the teachers really well, and what's amazing is a lot of the teachers that'll be speaking to everyone at this particular Real Success Summit have achieved a significant amount of personal wealth through assets, all of them. So whether they're teaching you how to make money or your personal development, it's one of the things they have a lot in common. And I like that, because I think it's a common theme that we have to put out there, but practice is important. And with teachers, I think, we always want to know people walk the talk. And it's interesting. I mean, they don't all talk about it, ironically, because often wealthy people or people that are financially independent don't necessarily make a big scene about it. It's something that's personal to them and their family. It doesn't stop them wanting to make money, make an impact, grow a business, do things. They just do it from a place which doesn't have that level of desperation and survival mentality on it. And I think that's so important. You achieved financial freedom a long time ago, and you and your husband have had an incredible life on the back of that. But I mean, I know this has become something that you're really passionate about. And I think that's just because we see the pain and we see the struggle that people go through, which is to a certain degree unnecessary, but it's just, based on how they perceive things and the environment and the way. I love what you said about habits. You actually caught me out when we were talking in Ireland, and I'll never forget that. And I was saying, Sharon, this is one of the things I struggle with. I'm really good at making money, but I don't do much of this. And then you were like, just listening. And you said, Brian, in this time that I've been listening to you, you've told me all these little things that you've actually changed and improved. And yet you say you're bad. So you're buying into the story that you're not actually working with money properly, but you actually have been continuously improving. And I guess that's partly the reality. For some people, it takes a lot of conditioning and changing and just slowly making progress in different ways, and in order to really get there. But you can, once you do it right, Sharon, get there relatively quickly. I mean, we're not here to say get rich quick, because it's not true. You live a beautiful lifestyle. You have plenty of things that you need, but you have the financial freedom that you've had for a long time. How do we sort of address that? And what do you really deal with this kind of, spending money seems more fun in the short term than the ultimate of what you get when you buy into assets?
Well, a lot of it is, you are your greatest asset. So you do need to invest in yourself to learn, to get educated from the right people. And so as you become more educated about money, that fear that you had, that scarcity, starts turning into abundance and understanding the power of money. And a lot of it is, if you're chasing the money, it may be a long run. If you're chasing creating an asset that makes a difference, solves a problem or serves a need, those assets, whether it be real estate or a business opportunity or stocks and bonds, then you're focusing on making the world a better place. And that may sound like pie in the sky to people listening and watching this, but it truly is. When you focus on adding value to the world, you will be rewarded. And that's something that has been a focus of mine forever, is understanding, don't When you're type A personality, which most of you probably are, you see what's not right yet. Okay, what needs to work on. And so you're focused on the negative. And so you have to take a step back. And just like Brian talked about in Ireland, let's acknowledge what has been accomplished and then take what's next. Little wins. I tell my team, they used to get mad at me, but I said, let's just celebrate the little wins. Paying off that first credit card, or getting that first $100,000 month, and then maybe that first $1 million month. That's what I support people in achieving, the little wins, because those little wins count together and you get up with their big goal.
I think what I love about you as well, Sharon, is you are an entrepreneur through and through. Like, your whole life has been about building businesses and building brands. Some people forget that when you talk about, your money education per se, because and that's when you talk about that A personality and, seeing the challenges, but then seeing the opportunities and looking for things out there. It's so interesting because I've worked, as you know, I used to teach and train entrepreneurs for years and years. And I found this like common thread around, this concept of chasing money, thinking if I can earn another $100,000 a month or $10,000 a month, I'll be fine. But the truth is, I've actually asked an audience of 1,000 people. I said, just answer instinctively when I say this. What do you do if you earn more money? And they literally shout out, spend it. And, then half of them catch themselves going, oh, that's not actually the right answer, but it's so conditioned that, there's 100 ways to spend money, especially in business. You could 10x your income and you can spend all of that and still not be profitable, this magic word in business, in order to make something work. So I think it really is a kind of a consciousness of putting brakes on and actually consciously, like in business, we used to say, the term making money is not actually making turnover. Making money is making profit. And this is this weird word that so many small business owners never really got familiar with or had a fear with because it associated with tax and things like that. That's what I do love about you. And guys, understand this. When Sharon talks, she's going to give you so many incredible techniques and processes you can follow in order to create wealth. But she is phenomenal at actually understanding how to make money as well, and how to create influence and how to build brands. So she really comes from a lot of different angles. What would you say before we sort of wrap this up? And just remember, Sharon is on the summit. Make sure you're there. She's on there twice, actually. And so you definitely don't want to miss out on that opportunity. But what would you say if somebody was listening to this going, okay, this is actually making sense and I've been struggling for a long time? What's the first step that somebody should take? And just one that they can start to work on that'll start them on that journey of slowly progressing and changing that.
Well, thank you, Brian. I think the first step is figure out where you are. Most people put their head in the sand. They don't even know where they are financially because they're afraid to find out. And so the first step is to determine where you are financially. Even if the picture is bleak, you're going to feel empowered because you took a step. You stepped out of that fear. I want to drag you out of your comfort zone and give you things that you can do beyond that. Easy steps to help you gain that confidence, one step at a time, so that you can make your life better. There's never been a more important time in history. There are, recent studies show over 80% of people, no matter what generation you're in, and this is a first for these younger generations, are stressed out about money. And so only you can change that. And it's by taking that first step. And I want to help you take that first step and illuminate the second step and the third step so that you're not alone. Because most of us are in silos, where we hide behind the door when it comes to our financial life. We don't want to share that we need some help. But guess what? Everybody needs help. So you're not alone. And in the last few years, a lot of us have been stopped in our tracks, whether it was COVID with an illness or a death or a divorce, a financial setback. You're not alone. But turn that, instead of being paralyzed and stopped in your tracks, see that as an opportunity to turn that mess into your message. Because if you do, and you can show how you get away from that and you get better, and tomorrow's a better day, then that can be someone else's miracle. And that's really what we all have issues, but that issue can turn into an opportunity for you to help others that are facing the same thing.
Yeah, and like I think it was Einstein that said exemplification is the best form of teaching. When it comes to financial education, that is such a true statement because you know, it is like we know children, because I often hear this, you know, parents, we all tell our kids this is what you should do with money because we know instinctively what we didn't do, but children don't listen, you know, and even adults don't listen, but they do watch. If you want to influence your friends, do it, don't say it. If you want to influence your children, do it. Show your happiness, because it's not even about the money per se. It's about the freedom you get psychologically and that ability to reduce stress and then go out there and do the things you really want to do with your life. And that's, you know, that's what it gives you. And if you illustrate that to your children, they will be going like, Mom, Dad, what did you do? You know, like, I want to learn from you. But if you're running around with the stories that, oh my goodness, if we could record in any general household how people talk about money and association with money, it's no wonder that we all sort of grew up with a very misguided idea of how to connect with it. Sharon, I can't wait for you to speak again. I'm just so excited about this topic. Also, the other things you'll be talking about, just in helping people make that shift, because you've been such a brilliant person at doing that. And I really, really appreciate you. And, you know, Sharon is one of the people, guys, that she does this purely out of passion. And she's been an entrepreneur. She does not need the money, but believe me, she takes it very seriously. And I just love that. And your passion for wanting to influence not just a few, but millions of people's lives is absolutely amazing, exemplary. So we really look forward to seeing you at the amazing event. And guys, take that first step. I know how profound that is. It's 100% true. Most people do have a negative net worth when they work it out. Maybe just touch on one thing before we close, because if they do take that first step and try and work out their net worth, when it comes to lifestyle assets like the house you live in, you know, or the car you drive, I mean, obviously you wrote the book with Robert, and of course, one of the big contexts was very much that an asset should make you money. I mean, would you just, like, when I did my financial stuff, I excluded lifestyle assets. To me, they were an expense, even though I was paying off a house or something. It wasn't something that was ever going to add to my worth. If I was dead, sure, you know, it can be liquidated and given to somebody else, but as long as you have to live in it. Is that a true fact? Would you recommend people don't actually, you know, overinflate their net worth because they happen to own a house that's worth a lot of money but doesn't make them money?
Well, Brian, there's the banker's view of your house, and then there's the investor's view of your house. So when you're putting together your personal financial statement for the bank, you put the value of your house in it because you own it, and you have to offset the mortgage. The issue is does your house pay you money, or does it cost you money? And that's the definition in Rich Dad Poor Dad. From an investment perspective, investment assets put money in your pocket, liabilities take money out of your pocket. And so technically, as an investor, your house is a liability. Now, that doesn't mean that over time your house won't grow in value, but we talk about momentum of money. So let's look at it from that perspective. Is your money multiplying? Is it generating other money, or is it pulling away from you? And so somebody buys the house of their dreams and it's costing them a lot of money every single month. That's preventing you from investing in other things that could grow quickly. And again, you have that dream house, absolutely, but get the assets in place first and let the cash flow from those assets pay for the house. And that's, you know, that's the concept of the investor mindset. So a bank, yes, will tell you it's an asset, but it is not a working asset. So think of it that way. It is a non-working, depleting asset because you have to pay money out of your pocket to keep it going every month in hopes that it will increase in value. And those of us that were around in 2007, 2008, you know, felt the sting of our homes not being at the same value they were that we wanted them to be.
Yeah, I think it's such an important context that I'm going to stop this interview now, otherwise we'll end up talking for an hour, because but it is so relevant. And I've done this so often with people I was coaching in entrepreneurship. I'd always make people work out their net worth. And it's shocking how few people even know how to. You know, they have to ask 100 questions. But everyone, like, I'd see somebody and they'd say, oh, my net worth is $400,000. And then you go like, okay, so does that include your home? Yes, I actually have a very big home and it's paid for. I inherited or whatever. I said, now, if we took that out, what would your net worth be? and they just go quiet, and they're like, well, actually, probably minus $50,000. And I think it's, you know, I've heard this from so many wealthy people. It's really been echoed, like, if you don't measure your net worth, you're never going to get wealthy. So it is a great starting point for everyone listening. I'd love to see, Sharon, if we remember when you talk on the summit, we can actually ask if anyone remembers this interview, and if anyone actually sat down and tried to work out in as much detail as possible what their net worth was, so that when you teach them steps and processes from there, they've actually taken the first step.